MovieWeb.com.
So I actually want to begin by asking you about Nora and sort of how she feels when her father passes away and she has to move out of the home that she knows. And she adapts a little bit better than Mary does at first, doesn't she?
Nora definitely adapts better than Mary does. I think because of her sense of, I think in a sense she's very adaptable and she's able to, I mean in this film she calls herself a cockroach, that she can adapt to things easily. And I think that's a really strong point to her character, that she wants to learn Spanish right away. She embraces her aunt, she embraces the culture, and wants to become a part of it, and takes the bus to work, and ends up meeting these Mexican immigrants, wants to help them with her law studies, and so she adjusts quite well, I think, to her surroundings, which was really nice to play.
Was that contrast with Mary, with Alexa's character, was that fun to sort of play off of?
It was. It was definitely fun to play off of because you could see, I would see her working and she's having a complete fit. We'd have scenes together where she's crying and she's throwing tantrums, her BlackBerry's off, and she can't go to Rodeo Drive and go shopping, or what has a really bad car. And so, but then my character is always trying to comfort her and say, it's okay, like, why don't you see the positive sides of this? And so it was definitely fun to play.
And then with Edward, can you talk a little bit about how he feels when he first meets Nora and sort of that instant attraction?
Yeah, I think
Instant.
It was absolutely instant. Took a long time to prepare, though, for the actual shooting of the film. I kind of met Camilla. It was like weeks later I'd finally been able to get around it. Coincidentally, we sort of crossed paths, and I see her, and I'm pretty confident. I'm confident in my sort of charm and effect on women, and she sort of shoots back at me and kind of puts me in my place, and I find her instantly intriguing from that point on. And I sort of just maneuver things as best I can continually, sometimes even like playing a trick on her to try and get her to be around me more often so I can get to know her more. And from there it just blossoms, and then I see her in her own element, and I fall in love with her surroundings and her culture as she's falling in love with it herself, and then that's how that relationship begins.
And there's an interesting sort of cultural thing happening too, because your sister is very mean to the girls.
Yeah,
right.
She's
so there's
evil.
that conflict. Very evil, yeah.
Right, yeah, and so I'm constantly apologetic for that, but also from my own personal side of it, I'm torn. It's a character that understood that he was sort of interested in more things, but really didn't know what that was yet, and meeting Nora gives me that opportunity to express that and kind of embrace that, I am actually interested in something more, I just didn't know exactly what that was.
She kind of opens your eyes in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then Nora, back to Edward, like that, it's almost like she can't tell him her true feelings. She sort of has difficulty accepting her emotions.
She has a very hard time accepting her emotions. I think she's always made this conscious decision to let her brain and her mind steer her life and not her emotions, because of being so heartbroken in a very intense way with her mother passing away and then her father passing away. And she doesn't want to get heartbroken again, much less by a guy. That's so pointless. And so she says, no, I'm going to focus on my work and my studies, and that's what I'm going to do, because that she can rely on that and she can control that in a certain sense. So then he obviously comes along and kind of throws her off a bit, but she doesn't want to accept. She knows what she's feeling, but she doesn't want to accept it or even come to terms with it until she can't take it any longer, really, right?
I'm just overwhelming. I'm overwhelming. Also, the script was written that way.
So it works out, yeah.
Works out really well.
Well, finally, I want to ask you, because since you mentioned the script, it is loosely based on Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility,
right,
but obviously with this, sort of cultural feel to it. Could you talk about that and sort of the themes of family that the film deals with?
I think the theme of family is extremely important in this film, and I think that it's kind of the center of the film in a way, because it always goes back to two sisters and their relationship and how they comfort each other, how they support each other, and then their aunt who's there for them. She's trying to help them in their path as well, trying to help them adjust and wants to be there for them. And then there's relationships as well that plays a big part in it, and how they kind of adapt their surroundings because of the relationships they're making outside of the family. But they always come back to their family. That's the center of it. That's number one. So it's like him his character dealing with his connection with his sister and how that relationship affects his relationship with. So I think it always comes back to the family, kind of sets the tone for everything else in the film.
Yeah, and I would just add that, I think that my character's point of view offers this, the access from, the American side of it, where you are embracing a new family, and like willing to open your eyes and sort of find yourself enriched by a culture that maybe you wouldn't have thought would have been enriching to you before.
From Prada to Nada. Rodrigo Antonio Fuentes Hidalgo de la Borbolla, Jr.
Aurelia Margarita Jiménez Cisneros para servirle, Juan. I seriously need to learn Spanish.